I'm Jane Applegath. This is the Epic Vision Zone, where bold ideas meet extraordinary leaders. What if the story you've been hiding is the very story someone else needs to hear? And what if sharing your truth isn't about vulnerability, but about freedom? Every one of us carries stories we've almost told, stories shaped by fear, heartbreak, and courage. What if those stories are the bridge to deeper connection, authentic leadership, and a life lived with greater purpose? Michele Richman is the Chief People Officer at Lawline and the founder of Michele Richman Coaching. She is a certified executive coach, leadership expert, and author of The Stories We Almost Don't Tell. Her book began as a personal way to process life and became something more, a path to connection. Each story gives someone else permission to tell their own story because these are often the ones that transform us the most. After a successful career as a prosecutor and a personal injury attorney, Michele shifted her focus to helping high achieving professionals embrace self leadership, strengthen self trust, lead with clarity, and build cultures where people thrive. Through coaching, leadership development, and the power of storytelling, Michele shows individuals that the path to confidence isn't about becoming someone else. It's about having the courage to become more of who you already are. Today, we're exploring what happens when we stop hiding our stories and start owning them. Welcome, Michele, to the Epic Vision Zone.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited for this conversation.
Well, likewise, and we can't wait to get started because, as we just mentioned, Michele and I off camera, we are both storytellers, and I know the power of story. And obviously, Michele has learned and gone through that too. So let's get started. After spending nearly 2 decades helping build and scale Lawline, serving in roles from director and VP of operations and now chief people officer, how has that journey shaped your philosophy on leadership?
Thank you for that question. So, I think when I started my career, and especially in operations, success for me meant getting things done. It meant creating projects and finishing them. It meant creating a to do list. And it meant at the end of the day, I said, these are the things that I had a goal for, and this is what I accomplished. In the past 20 years, what I've evolved, my success definition is, have I made movement in the development of my team members?
Mhm.
And have I seen them progress? Have I, was there a conversation that one of my team members was too nervous to have? And now they have the difficult conversation without hesitation. Is there a project that they didn't want to lead and now they're asking for the leadership? So you realize that by other people growing, that's how the company grows. And that's the most important part of leadership.
Mm. Yes, that is so true and so important, especially in today's world. I know the younger generation are looking for that in their
Mhm.
work for sure. Well, principles that count. Having overseen several facets of an organization from operations, finance, and legal to leadership and HR, what common principles have you found to help both people and organizations thrive?
The most important thing always is trust. Everyone
Mm.
thinks about like accountability. They think about creating KPIs. All of those things are important. But if you don't build trust relationships between you, your team members, going both in a linear fashion, going upwards and going to the people who report to you, then you don't have communication and you don't have the ability to work together to hit goals. So I think that has been like the most transformative me of realizing you need to take the time to form your relationships. And you also need to show up. You need to listen. A lot of
Mhm.
times when you're the leader, you come in and you think, I need to tell you how to solve this. but you're not listening to what people are saying. And once you start listening, you realize what the issues really are and how you can help them solve them.
Mhm. Yes, that's a very important attribute for a leader is to listen because you're right. They have a habit of coming in and saying, "Okay, this is what needs to get done. Great seeing you. Go
Mm-hmm.
do it." And that's in a nutshell. But yeah, it's so. And sometimes when you listen, the solution pops up, or there's
Mm-hmm.
a pathway to something that you needed to tell them. So I love that. Yeah, that is a skill. Listening is definitely a skill. Well, just on that note, then, is there one thing that you felt that really resonated to build trust while you were doing that?
Yeah, and you won't be surprised if you've ever listened to Brene Brown or other leaders. It's showing up and stories. We started our conversation talking about the power of stories, and when you want to build trust, you have to show that you've been through what they've been through. You have to open
Mm,
yourself up. You have to show that you're not perfect either. You've been where they've been, and they're not alone. And all of a sudden, your relationship is at a completely different level. And then you're working together, you're building projects, you're helping others, and it's just like it's a whole different gelling of two different people.
right. It's an energy exchange.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely, yeah, I could see that. That's beautiful. I love that. Let's tell stories. Wow, can you imagine a leader coming in and saying, okay, we're going to tell stories now? But that would be great just to throw them off. Well, moments of inspiration, which that was for me. Thank you for sharing that. What inspired you to write the stories we almost don't talk, or excuse me, the stories we almost don't tell? And how does this book connect to the work that you're doing right now in your career?
Okay. Um, so I never thought I was going to be an author, and I didn't even think of myself as a writer. But lo and behold, it was the pandemic, and like many of us, I was trying to figure out something else to fuel me and a way to be creative. And I remember the last time I had really written for myself was, would you believe this, college? Almost 20 years. You know, you're working, you're in law school, you're practicing. So I had given myself a goal. I want to write at least one piece and share it this year. And I woke up on Halloween 2021. I saw something that said, it's International Bat Day. And all of a sudden I said, I know what I'm going to write. And I wrote a piece that's in my book, which is called Learning to Live with the Bats. And it was about
Mm.
a time in February of 2021 when my older son walked down the stairs and saw a bat actually sleeping on my younger son, and he didn't even know about it. Screaming ensued, a lot of chaos, and the kicker was when animal control came, they said, you know, you have a family of bats upstairs, but they are protected by New Jersey law, and we can't remove them. And
Oh,
at this moment, you know, you can't make these stories up. And then my conclusion at the end when I just started writing was like, well, I learned the term for batshit crazy and I understood what that meant, but really, you think about all of the um, proverbial bats you've been living with, all of the challenges. And if I could do all the other challenges that I had been doing in my life, I could do this too. And I shared the story right away before overthinking it. And the impact on others, they were laughing, they were telling me their own stories, and I felt addicted to writing. So I said to myself, if I'm really going to do this, I just need to make a goal for myself. And I said I would publish one piece a month for a full year. A year finished and I couldn't stop. And a couple of years later, I had written 50 pieces, and I knew I had something there. I had themes of fear, themes of advocacy, overcoming. And so I think the question you had asked me is like, what is the one thing that really resonated that I use today? And it's something I teach about all the time and I work with my team members on, and it's picking the right personal values. When I originally did a personal values exercise, and I don't know if this is something you've done, I had said my value is leadership. Then I realized like I've been leading for years. I had always said I want to be a writer, I want to speak, I want to coach, I want to do all these things. I wasn't doing it, so I knew right away I had to change. And I changed my personal value to courage. And then every decision I made was, is this scaring me? If the answer was no, I knew it wasn't the right thing. And then a couple of years later, I speak at least 4 or 5 times a year at conferences. I took my book, all my stories, I wrote a prologue and epilogue, and the response from my book and sharing it and telling my story of courage has brought so many people to me who've said, I have so many stories, but I never thought, I've been waiting for the right one. And like you said in the beginning, and I tell them, now you have the right one. Tell me your story and we can discuss it. At least let me be the witness to what you've gone through.
Right. Oh my gosh, you're right. I mean, they just resonate. And for you to take that, you're definitely creative. I mean, I would say one of your core values is creativity. I mean, that's just from
Mm-hmm.
what I've heard. And because you took that story of the bats and then wove it into bats being, what was this struggle, what was this, mishap that happened, et cetera, et cetera, using the bat sort of metaphor as, okay, these are the bad things. So that was wonderful. I love that story. And it's also fun. I mean, and the fact that you had to live with the bats, well, I don't know, that could be a whole nother episode. I'm not sure, but that's fun.
uh,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I
So
did not. They said oh, sorry. I was just going to say the bats, they said would leave in the spring. I didn't go up to my attic for 6 months. So,
I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. Oh my gosh. Well, we've just talked a little bit about here the power of story. So, how do the stories that we tell ourselves shape the way that we lead, make decisions, and build relationships? Because I know we all tell ourselves stories.
mhm. So it's all about the evidence that we use, Jane. And the stories are whether or not anything that's happened to you, it can be seen as positive or negative, and it depends what you're focusing on. And it also is like if I said for years I said I wasn't a public speaker, and I shied away from opportunities that were given to me. Our business is teaching courses to attorneys. I never wanted to teach. I thought I'm not the expert. And once I asked myself, what am I basing this on? I realized I was thinking about a time in middle school when I was told I wasn't a good performer. And I had listened to that story and I had focused on that. And then all of a sudden I said, well, what if I focused on a different story? And I talked real working with my coach, not just on my own, I realized I had been leading company meetings for years. I had been coaching people for years. I had been doing group coaching and I really was doing public speaking. So the key here is just changing the evidence of the story you're telling and then focusing on what's going to push you forward, not backwards.
Right. Yes. It's a mindset. Absolutely. Yeah, it's the perspective of what you're seeing it as. And obviously,
Mm-hmm.
the old story telling yourself that because that was a bad experience, the others will be as well. Well, you touched briefly on this coaching. So it has become a
Mm-hmm.
central part of your leadership approach. How is coaching then different? I'm interested in this question than managing, mentoring, or giving advice. And why do you believe that every leader should develop coaching skills?
Thank you for asking this because coaching is the thing that I'm most passionate about. And we touched upon this a little bit in the beginning. Managers are usually telling the people who work for them what to do. They're saying, here's what you must finish by the end of the week. Here's how I did it. Follow the same rules. And guess what happens when that no, nobody learns how to do things themselves? They don't learn how to problem solve. And what happened was, just to give you a little story, if I can, that illustrates this all, is we started coaching in Lawline in 2014. And we had a management coach came in who was amazing. He helped us organize. He helped us start weekly coaching sessions. He helped us do daily huddles. And we were organized and we were aligned. And all of a sudden, team members were leaving. And I was like, what's happening here? I did all the things and now we're all aligned on the goals of the company. And they said, yeah, but I'm not growing. And I realized I'd focused so much on managing and even mentoring because both mentoring, there's nothing wrong with it, but it is really focusing on let me teach you how I did it. and try to do it, even if you're not doing it yourself. Managing, a lot of times, you're just like, I'll start this, you finish it. Mentoring can be, this is how I did it, learn from how I did it. But coaching is, I want to develop you as a leader. Everyone is a leader. It doesn't matter if you're managing someone. So, how do I build on your leadership skills? I build on your critical thinking. I listen. I teach you not what I'm doing, how I make the decision. How does my mind work when I'm calculating something? And for me, coaching is all about developing the person. And then guess what? They're going to hit the goals of the themselves as their role. They're going to hit the goals of the department. They're going to hit the goals of the company. But you're approaching it from a different way, bottom up instead of top down.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that is a huge leap. That information right there, that's pure gold. And it's the larger the corporation, I feel, the more arduous that particular
Mm-hmm.
statement tends to be, just because there are so many. There's it's such a hierarchy. It goes up and up and up. But yes, if we could embed that in every office and every corporation, oh my gosh, you're right. The people would work, not work for the company, grow with the company, because they feel a part of it and they're adding to it. Well, that is a perfect segue into, you created Lawline's leadership empowerment cohort to help leaders grow. So, what inspired the program, and what transformation have you seen in the participants?
So it was something that I've been doing with my team. And as I mentioned, I started speaking at conferences, and I was speaking at legal conferences, and I was doing personal values. I was talking about coaching. I was talking about how to create scorecards and alignment.
Mm.
And so many people came up to me after I would share my stories and say, wow, can you teach me? I've gone through these struggles. We don't do this. One big thing we talked a lot about that we've been doing at my company is stay interviews. And just to touch a little on that, I'm sure you know what exit interviews are. You find out when someone's leaving. Well, stay interviews we do every year, and we ask them, what would be that one thing that would make you leave? And then we try to figure out how to solve that so that we continue to keep our employees and grow them. And all of these, both lawyers and legal professional development people, are coming up to me and saying, I need this. So I created this program, and I started it in what is a train the trainer program. So the operations people, the professional development people, the HR people, they're the ones who have the most influence on lawyers and all employees who they're leading. And I brought them together, and it was magic, because these are my people. I've been doing this for years of HR, and the first story someone told, everyone else said, I've been through that. And one of the reasons it's so special for like professional development and HR leaders is we're the ones who are in charge of helping everyone grow and teaching everyone, but often we're the ones who get neglected the most in professional development leadership. So they felt so connected that by the end of the first program I had run, one woman got the dream promotion that she had wanted because I helped her figure out how to ask for it. Another person had switched jobs, and another person said, for the first time, I am delegating and raising everyone on my team to the next level. And that was just a 6-week program. And it was all because, I don't want to say it was me, it was the principles we shared, but it was the peer support, hearing others have the same experience, but then also saying, oh, you have that problem? Let me tell you what I did in that situation. So the cohort aspect of it is what is really the transformative factor.
Mm. Yes, I could see that, because often you feel like you're on your own. You're just
Mm-hmm.
there, and you're expected to fix the issues or address, why people might be leaving or why we can't hire, and there's no one to bounce these ideas off of. But my gosh, yes, this is such a great concept, and I love that idea of a stay interview. That is brilliant. My gosh, I could see that in every company right across the country. Seriously. It's so simple, but yet no one's thought of it, because, we're
Mm-hmm.
always, let's put it this way, we follow the path that's already been there. And we,
100%.
like you said, we don't think outside the box often because we get busy. I call it static.
Mhm.
We get so tied up in the day to day and the doing and the have tos that we don't give ourselves the time, like you said, to think of these types of programs that will move the needle in a very good way for everybody. So that is brilliant. I Creativity is definitely one of your values. I can't, I mean, it just, that's very creative, outside of the box thinking. Well, thank you for that. Well, here's something that leaders often struggle with, which is accountability and empathy. So, what advice do you give leaders who want to build high performing teams while creating a culture where people feel supported and empowered?
This is a big thing that I think about a lot because there's many coaching programs and they're trying to say it's your job to keep your team or whoever you're coaching accountable. And what I think of it is if you're going to do that, then they're never going to learn and it's going to be constantly you stuck telling them when their deadlines are. It's as a coach, accountability is very important. I mean, I've been doing this so long and helping my team, giving them the tools on how do they keep themselves organized? How do they follow through? One of the biggest things I tell my team members is keeping your commitments is 100%. If you say you're going to do something, you need to do it or explain why it's going to be late. I want you to be responsive when I email you. So what I'm doing to them is I'm teaching them how to keep themselves accountable. And I'm there anytime they need to talk about a struggle and help them. But I'm not sitting going through a list and saying, have you done this? Because if that, then that's that. First of all, it's not fun for me, but they're going to be stuck in the same role of waiting for me. But they're not my children. I'm trying to teach my own children how to be more responsible. And I see the same thing with the team. I like don't think of it as like keeping them accountable. Then there's empathy. I'm very connected to anyone I'm coaching, and part of it is I listen, I tell stories, I listen to their stories, but I'm very careful with empathy, especially as many years as I've done HR, and you hear a lot of not getting caught in what my coach leader explained to me is like if someone's falling in quicksand, when you're feeling everything they're feeling, you're next to them. You're also drowning in the quicksand. So your role as empathy is giving them the rope and pulling them out. And that's the key is like I am being compassionate about what you're going through, but I can't feel everything you're feeling because it's my job to help you get to the other side.
Mm, that's really empowering. Do you have a story that you could share that happened?
Mm. So many, and I'm trying to think right now.
If not, that's okay.
I can't, yeah, no, I
Okay.
can't think of a specific one at this
Yeah.
moment.
No, but yeah, that's empowering to do that, to give them the rope, but not go down, not get caught in the
Mhm.
quicksand, as you say, with them. Because yes, then it just becomes a whatever fest. You're like all both of you are drowning in the quicksand and it's not
Right.
good. But yeah, absolutely. But and mindset shift. So this is a big one because what are the biggest mindset shifts that you've seen people experience when moving from stuck to action in both their careers and their personal lives?
Mhm. Often people think that they're two different people. And I'll do a personal values exercise and they'll say, oh, do you want it for my personal value for who I am with my family and friends or who I am for work? And what do I say to them? You're the same person. And if you're actually pretending, and this actually almost goes a little as I'm thinking about to the quicksand, is if somebody comes in, I start every coaching session to them and I say, I don't say, how are you? Because usually when someone says, how are you? They say, good. What's your mood today? And then I'll hear, actually, I had a really big fight with my partner and I didn't sleep.
Mm.
And like, I just don't feel myself. And I'll say to them, okay, let's pause on that. We don't need to talk about it, but do you want to speak again tomorrow? Because you have to acknowledge that you're the same person.
Mm.
And so what I don't want to do is I'm not the therapist, and I think that's part of being the rope is not getting really upset by whatever personal things they're going through. But I'm acknowledging that you're going through it, and I'm not asking you to say become somebody different. I'm saying let me give you the space, and I'm here to support you, and then also following through with them. Or now that you're ready, what do you need? So it's really important to say like once you acknowledge that, you're looking then for your core values. So you talk about my creativity and my courage. I'm going to do that as much at work as I am at home. And that's how I become the person I want to be.
Mm, yes. That is really interesting, Michelle. I didn't know that that was news to me that people would ask, do you want my at home person values or do you want my professional? And it's I personally would never think they were different, but that's interesting that you say that people ask that question like well, they're two separate people. You know, they put on
Mm-hmm.
a whole facade at work. But your values are your values. Yeah, absolutely. Across your career, what lessons have had the greatest impact on how you have led and lived?
The lessons that have had the greatest impact are not being afraid to have the conversations. I've brought this up before, but it really is the most important thing, both, I would say, with people, everyone I work with my husband, with my children, with my friends. And I spent so many years fear of confrontation, and it's mixed in with imposter syndrome because you feel like I'm, do I have the right to tell them that they're doing something wrong? And like what I've learned is with everyone I work with and the people I love is like by me being honest and helping them, I'm actually helping them achieve everything they want. I'm helping them be better. And the next time it happens, they're going to be different. But it took me so many years to have the confidence to do that. And that's the number one thing that all of my team members who come to me, my newest leaders, struggle with. It's not being successful because that's really why they've been promoted. It's having these difficult conversations with people who used to be many times on the same level as them. So I would say, do your best. Don't shy away of it. And don't think about it as like, I'm giving them something difficult. Think about them as, I want them to be the best version of themselves. And this is how I can help them get there.
Yes, absolutely. It's so interesting, Michelle, as we grow, we gain that wisdom. But like you said, when you
Mm-hmm.
were younger, you didn't realize, that these were the things that now you call it, that has a name, imposter syndrome, and who am I to tell someone what to do, et cetera, et cetera. But the more knowledge that we gain and the more experience that we have in our lives, that therein lies the wisdom. And, that is something that, through your life, obviously you're sharing that wisdom now and spreading it with so much of your work. And that leads me to the future on your vision for helping leaders and organizations to create workplaces where people have the courage to grow. What is your big vision?
Everybody considers himself a coach, whether you're managing people, whether you have nobody under you. Think about you're always trying to better yourself. You're always trying to better everybody around you. And if you're thinking of yourself as a coach and you're thinking of yourself as a leader, you're always like feeling so empowered. And we talked about earlier of the younger generation wanting to feel supported, but they want to feel ownership. And the ownership comes from them feeling like they're the coach for someone else. They're the coach for themselves. They're the leader. So I think that if you change that mindset, that it has nothing to do with your title, it has everything to do with how you show up every day.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, you're so right. And the younger generation is shifting things because unlike my generation, most likely your generation, in our lives, we might have had maybe two careers. And that was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't stay with the same job all your life. Like if you went for an interview and on your resume, you'd already had five jobs in your 30, they'd say, well, what's wrong with you? you know, but not today. if the kids don't like what, and I call them kids now, if they don't like where they're working, they quit. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, this isn't working for me. And that is not a new concept in life, but it's a new concept in organizations, because it used to be the other way around, where people would stay where they are for the security, for the paycheck, for the benefits, whatever it might be. Obviously, we all have responsibilities. And
Mm-hmm.
some people, we all, have our families and our mortgages and whatever it might be. But the young people are more risk takers. At least that's what I feel. Or they resonate more with, what am I getting from it? How am I growing? And that's where I see your program really coming into
Mm-hmm.
play, because yours is all about growing individuals. Yeah, leadership through humanity. So, and you've
Mm-hmm.
led people in law and business and coaching and organizational culture. So, what leadership qualities then, Michele, do you believe the world is craving more of today?
It sounds obvious, but curiosity. And that
Mm,
leads to creativity. And it goes really back to what you were saying before, is like big corporations get so stuck in the way things have been. But when you're curious, you're always looking for a better way, a different way. And I would like to add to what I was saying before, is another thing that I've changed, transformed how I lead, is the focus on well-being. And so we've
mm,
created a culture where we have a 4-day work week every other week for all employees. We have paid parental leave. We have flex hours. And I think that's a lot of what the next generation is looking for. And so when I say it's not just about giving them ownership, it's about saying, we trust you to get your work done. Here are your
mm.
goals. And so it's the combination of the belief in, the trust, the making them a coach, and all of these things together, that curiosity is the key, because you're just not saying you have to be sitting in an office where I can watch you do everything from a 9 to 5.
Mhm.
That just doesn't exist anymore. At least not the way I lead.
No, well, it doesn't. COVID changed everything for everyone. It didn't matter
Mm-hmm.
what type of job you had or where you worked or your profession. It changed everything. Because that's where people gave themselves the space, like you did, to tap into their true calling. I mean, that's what I believe. That's when I started the podcasting, was during COVID. Because when we get these responsibilities and we get our jobs, we get caught on the hamster wheel. And it's not for lack of wanting to do something different often. It's maybe just that you just have responsibilities and you've got to do this and you got to do that. And there's so many things to tend to. And you have a work week where you show up to work 5 days a week and you only have 2 days to do everything else. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't give yourself the space to gear down and go, oh, wow. Like you started writing and then you wrote
Mm-hmm.
another one. But if you didn't have that time, you wouldn't have made the time to do it. It's just
It
because you
wouldn't
had
have
the
occurred to,
time.
yeah, it just
Yeah,
wouldn't have occurred.
yeah. It wouldn't have occurred. Absolutely. So that's really magical. I mean, in a way, there was a lot of things that were wrong with COVID, but it did make space for a lot of things to come to fruition, for sure. Well, Michele, if there was one message that you could share with the world, what would it be?
You would think it would have to do stories, but I'm going to take a different approach. My mom, who was one of the most important people in my life, a really strong, powerful woman who influenced everything I did and my family, would always have an expression when there was a challenge. And her expression was, let's play it by ear. And when
Mm,
I think of that in as leadership, as who we want to be, it's really about, let's not let the stories that we've let control who we think we are frame who we're going to be. Let's see what opportunities come. Let's say yes more
mm,
often. Let's take a different approach to a situation. So let's play it by ear, which I heard my whole life, and I say with my employees and my children. It just gives you a freedom to look at the world in a completely different way than your original instinct would be.
I love that. Yeah. It's like go with the flow. It's just like tune into whatever, and or like you said, let's play it by ear, because you're just basically seeing the situation and moving into that. Is there a favorite story or chapter that you have in your book, Michelle, that you'd like to share? Just a little insight?
My favorite that I love so much is my triathlon story. And it was the
Mm,
first triathlon I had ever done. And I wake up in the morning and I'm so nervous because it had just been switched from a pond to an ocean. I've never swam in
mm,
open water ocean. And the day starts off with me trying to put my contacts on. And no matter what I do, I can't see. And I think that I'm like making myself temporarily blind so I don't have to do my triathlon. Turns out I didn't find out till later. I had bought the completely, instead of a negative, I had gotten positive. So I still went through with it. I showed up, and in the ocean, I had a good friend who was an amazing swimmer. And she said, I'm going to give up my time to be the fastest just so I can swim next to you the whole time. So that story of somebody showing up for me. And it's my first triathlon, and it turned out from veterans that it was one of the roughest triathlons they had ever done. So I, midway through, wanted to grab onto a kayak because I was having trouble. I had pulled a muscle, and my friend said to
mm.
me, I'm not going to let you do that. The second you hold on, that's it, you're done. I'm going to stay with you. And she just said, keep going one stroke at a time. Lo and behold, I made it out of the water. She sped away. I made it to the end of it, which was the run, and I ran into another friend of mine who was struggling. And all of a sudden, everything I had been going through, it disappeared. And my entire focus was, how do I help her? And then
Mm.
we spent the rest of the run walking, supporting each other, and we finished it together. And it just showed me like the most important thing in any situation is when, like, for you to succeed, people show up for you when you need it, and then you know how to show up for them at the moment they need it most. And I love the story, and I loved all of the lessons from it. So
That's beautiful. Oh wow, that is so powerful. Thank you. And look, it's stayed with you your entire life.
mm,
And what a great
yeah,
story to tell as well. Because you're right, there is so many lessons. And then you went and helped someone else. And that's actually what you're doing in your coaching, for sure. Yeah. There is a domino effect. It's like that old saying about dropping a petal in a pond and have the ripples go out. It affects
mm-hmm.
everything. Yeah, that's
Yes.
wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'll tell audience, Michelle, to connect with you.
MichelleRichman.com to take me from there, or I'm MichelleRichman.coach on Instagram. That's a great way to see what I'm doing.
Okay, and your book is available on Amazon and all other platforms?
It's on Amazon and at local bookstores. So the easiest way to get it is on Amazon right now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, because we're here at the Epic Vision Zone, I have one last question, Michelle. If your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Play your story by ear.
Hmm, that's perfect. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's as brilliant. That feeds right into let's play it by ear. That's perfect. I love it. Well, thank you, Michelle, for reminding us that the stories we own become someone else's permission to heal, grow, and to begin again. So, once again, for information and to connect with Michelle, go to the Epic Vision Zone bio pages where you will find all of her social media and direct contact information. And once again, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath. Look me up at janeapplegath.com and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Epic Vision Zone. Sending you much love and gratitude. Until next time, stay visionary, stay bold, live epically.